Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. You're with me Arun Sharma, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you about 5 key points that you need to remember if you're preparing for CAT 23 in an 8 to 12 month framework. And without any further ado, let's go into these points directly. So first thing that you need to understand about CAT 23 prep is that you need to create a consistent plan. Consistency is the number one challenge. It's the number one resource. It's also the number one friend that you will have with you during this preparation. A lot of people ask me this question, how long should I prepare every week and how many hours do I need to put in? And my answer or my concern with any student or any aspirant is not about how many hours he or she is able to put in. Even if you can put in 15-20 hours a week, that's also good enough, versus somebody else who might be able to put 40 hours a week because he or she is not working. It's also, both are equally good. It's just what is more important is not how many hours you put in a week, but the fact that are you consistent week in, week out. So if you're giving 15 hours daily, every week, if you're giving 15 hours every week, are you going to be consistent over a 40-50 week period of giving those 15 hours every week or not, is the biggest aspect of the preparation. And this is the first point I want to talk about. So a lot of people then ask me that, okay, sir, my comfort zone is 25 hours, but I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do it across the year, whether I'll be able to continue 25 hours across the year. So I tell them that that's not an issue. You can actually have a situation where you say, okay, 25 is my average, and then I've got these great CAT weeks where I do 30-35 hours, 40 hours, and then I have the normal weeks where I do 20-25 hours, and then there are some low weeks where I'm only able to do 5-10 hours, but it should not be zero. The problem is that in case, what I mean by consistency here is that in case you go down to zero for a few weeks, for 3, 4, 5 weeks, your preparation goes back to the starting point, and then you have to restart again from zero. And that's what you should avoid. So whatever is your comfort zone in terms of an average timeline, an average time frame on a weekly basis, you define that. And just make sure that you are plus minus a few hours on that, and over a period of maybe 6 months to 8 months, you're able to maintain that kind of average on a consistent basis. Remember, consistency is more important than running off the blocks at a very high speed. So that's the first point. And then, of course, comes the mechanics of preparation. So once you have an identified plan or timeline with respect to how much you need to do or hours wise, then you now need to convert it into subjects. So when you come to subjects, you have, and that's the second point I want to talk about, your QA prep, your quantitative aptitude preparation plan. It actually consists of 3-4 phases of preparation when you are in a 40 to 50 week period of preparation. And those phases, the first phase is the first 20 odd weeks, where typically you take a thumb rule of going through one chapter every week. You just focus on finishing of one chapter every week. And by finishing, what I mean is that you should be able to do the theory of that chapter. You should look at some solved examples, some maybe if you are attending a course, we have a course at Mindworks also for you. So if you're attending a course or you have access to channels, etc., we also keep coming up with a lot of solution videos on our YouTube channels, etc. So if you have some kind of resource where you can watch videos, you do a little bit of maybe 20 to 30 questions of assisted problem solving, and then you move into your self problem solving mechanisms where you try to do questions at level 1 difficulty and level 2 difficulty in your first week or in your first week on the chapter directly. So what happens is that when you're going on a week to week basis, in your first round of a topic of a chapter, you might not be able to complete all the questions of level 1 and level 2, and obviously your percentage of questions solved in level 2 will be lower than you will be able to solve in level 1. But you should not get too embarrassed about that fact. You should not get too concerned about that fact, because that's the normal thing which is expected. Because if you're picking up a good question bank and you can solve all of it on your own in the first time itself, it means that you're ready for that chapter. And if you're not ready for the chapter, and your skills are not good enough to solve everything on that chapter, you will have an experience of not being able to solve questions. So how do you deal with those questions is part of the key process of your preparation. So questions you don't solve in your first round, just keep them with yourself and wait for your second round. You'll come back to those chapters again after some time to come back and try those questions again, and you'll see that your first round, the first week that you spend on a topic will have some effect in your skills, and when you come back to the same topic a second time, maybe after 30 to 45 days, you'll see that some of the questions you could not do the first time around will automatically get solved. So allow that natural process to play on, rather than trying to bite the bullet and trying to say that I'm going to solve every question and jo bhi question mere se nahi hoga, I'm going to ask someone immediately and finish that question off. You're not supposed to finish questions. Your focus is on raising your skills. So the thumb rule is essentially around 20 weeks. There are around 20 chapters. You can look at the chapters from my book. 20 chapters for quants, and you should have a thumb rule of one week per chapter. So you keep a 20-week plan, and not all plans will go according to schedule. So you should be ready. Instead of the 20-week timeline, you might take 22 to 24 weeks to complete it. That's perfectly fine. You can have a 2 to 4 week leeway, or you can give yourself a 2 to 4 week leeway to complete the 20 chapters, the first round of the 20 chapters. At the end of it, you will understand a certain percentage or a certain solved percentage of questions. And what is very essential after the first 20, 22, 24 weeks, in fact, you can start the follow-up process immediately after the first 6-7 weeks with the initial chapters, is to go back to the chapters and retry the questions you were not able to do, and also do those questions which you did again, which you were able to do the first time. It's very important. So this is the second big tip which I want to talk about in the context of CAT 23 prep, and this was about QA. The third tip, or the third major point that you need to remember, is that again, when we talk about consistency in the first one, the consistency is not just in terms of the effort. The consistency also has to be in terms of balancing of preparation of all the areas. It should not be that your preparation of quants is 50 weeks long, while your preparation of DI is only 20 weeks long, and your preparation of English is only 25 weeks long. I see a lot of people making this mistake, that although they are preparing a long-term framework, what they do is they do one subject or two subjects more of the time and do the other two subjects less of the time. And the typical subjects which are not done, which are underdone, are data interpretation and logical reasoning. So the third big point is about DI. You should start your data interpretation from week 1. So as you draw your calendar for 40-50 weeks, whatever your timeline is when you're watching this video, when you draw the timeline for the 40-50 weeks, your quants chapter preparation is for the first 20 weeks. During that time, you have to have a DI plan for each of those 20 weeks. And that plan should involve solving or experiencing. In data interpretation, you need to understand that there's no theory. And data interpretation is essentially learnt only through problem solving, either through assisted problem solving or self problem solving. And hence, in each of these 20 weeks, if you keep a typical thumb rule of going through around 15 sets, you will be creating an experience of around 300 sets by the end of the 20th week. And that's a significant experience to start you off on DI and to actually take you to the point where you can actually handle mock tests on data interpretation. So 15 sets per week is the thumb rule for data interpretation, which you should be processing every week. Of course, DI is, when you talk about the DI portion, data interpretation is divided into logical DI and traditional DI. So your first 100 odd sets, first 6 to 8 weeks should be mostly on traditional DI. And then you should come to logical DI, the analysis-based data interpretation. Traditional DI is more about data extraction and data reading, whereas logical DI is more about data analysis and numerical analysis of the data. So once you have completed around 100 odd sets, 6 to 8 weeks of preparation worth at the 15 sets per week structure, then you should go ahead with starting to work on logical and analytical DI. And your next 12-13 weeks of the first 20-week plan should be built on that. The fourth point is about logical reasoning. And logical reasoning also has a similar structure. Only difference between data interpretation and logical reasoning is that in logical reasoning, for the first 8-9 weeks, your focus will be on individual question types. So you have the question types which you can check from my book, the book's chapters. What I have defined as LR for cat, or the logical reasoning question types for cat, which includes question types like arrangements, team selections, puzzles, quantitative reasoning, and set theory, games and tournaments, cubes and dice, etc. There are around 8-9 chapters there, which you need to, again, you can take a 1 week per question type per time frame and do around 20-25 puzzles or 15-20 puzzles per week on each of these question types, so that by the end of 8 weeks you are fairly equipped with the kind of questions you're going to see in the CAT. And then after the first 8 weeks, your logical reasoning preparation for the next 12-13 weeks has to be a mixed bag. You have to start solving like the CAT gives you. The CAT does not come in boxes of chapters when you talk about logical reasoning. So you have to just come across or expose yourself to CAT kind of solving by going through a mixed question bag of logical reasoning questions. And again, the thumb rule in terms of how much you cover a week, every week should be around 15 sets per week for the next 12 weeks. So if you can average around 15 sets per week of LR, by the end of your 20th week, you'll be at around 300 sets of LR preparation or LR exposure, which is also fair, and you most likely will be ready to handle the mock test at that point. The last point which I want to talk about in this video is about verbal ability and reading comprehension. And again, in a 40-50 week plan, the first 15 to 20 weeks on verbal ability, reading comprehension should be focused more on improving your language and improving your understanding of language, rather than doing mocks or doing questions or practicing questions and solving. So verbal has two major phases of preparation. One is language improvement, the other is solving improvement. If your language is already good, of course, you can still improve your language. So language improvement involves 2-3 things. One, it involves improving your word level awareness of the language. And word level awareness of the language does not only mean vocabulary, which is why I did not say vocabulary. It means doing a vocabulary, it means getting better at phrasal verbs, it means getting better at knowing the idioms and the typical language which is used to express in English. So that's one part of it. And then the second part is you have to get better at handling sentences, and that too long sentences with complex language. So one of the key features of the exam, if you see CAT papers of the past, you'll realize that when you read a normal newspaper, a normal Indian English newspaper, you see on an average 12, 14, 15 word sentences in the articles you read. But if you go into the CAT passages and the CAT verbal ability questions, you will see that individual paragraphs paragraphs have 5 or 6 sentences, and the average sentence length is around 30 to 35. So a lot of people find themselves out of depth when they are trying to read such content, when they are used to 12-word sentences, and suddenly you are getting sentences which are 35 words long. So you need to get used to that, and you need to get used to that kind of reading. So we'll come up with a separate video on verbal ability preparation, but in which we'll detail what kind of reading you should do. But that's the general thumb rule. So you have to start opening up your mind to reading longer, more complex language on topics that you don't understand so well. So that's part of your first 15-20 weeks of preparation. And of course, during that time, you can start off understanding the question types, and you can start off auditing yourself. What is your RC accuracy rate? What is your parajumble accuracy rate? What's your accuracy rate on other question types that the CAT asks, like summary, etc. You can audit that, and that'll give you a fair idea about how long you have to go with respect to being able to solve everything correctly in the exam. Are you able to see that one clear answer that every question has? So that's what you broadly need to do. And of course, beyond the first 20 weeks in all the areas, you will move into mock tests, and you will move into your testing phase of your preparation. And when you move into the testing phase of your preparation, the test will automatically tell you whether you're good enough to crack the CAT with the percentile you're looking for. And in case you find yourself short, you'll need to make or create makeup strategies or coverage strategies or gap filling strategies at that point of time. And you can keep following us for more such content to understand what those strategies could be as we go through this year with you. So I'll look forward to having all of you with me on the channel. Please do like, share, subscribe the video, subscribe to the channel, and do share the video with your friends and your acquaintances so that we get a larger audience. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.